Hey, what's up guys and gals? My name is Ricknineg. I am so excited to bring you this episode because some of you have been asking me in the comments, Rick, what are your favorite I Love Lucy episodes? Well, this is the beginning of, I'd say, a kind of a series where we can do that, where we can look at my favorite episodes. We're going to only do season 1 in this one, and of course we're going to go through 10 of them. I want to welcome all of the new subscribers to the family. Thank you for joining the community. If you haven't done that, just take a second and just literally click on the subscribe button. That's all you really have to do. And if you're already subscribed, go ahead and hit that like button. It does help out my channel. It does spread the word of what I do and encourages me to keep going. So I do appreciate it. I want you guys and gals to make your own list. What are the 10 best episodes of I Love Lucy? Now, let me tell you, it was no easy task to do this. Here's what I did. Let me tell you. So I didn't necessarily look for the funniest moments in the episode and that made it up on the list. This is how I did it. So I thought about, hey, if I'm to lay down on my couch or on my bed or whatever it would be, what episode do I want to pop in? What is the episode that I want to watch from beginning to end, and what episode calls to me? So I'm going to give you 2 separate examples, okay? For example, these are going to be from different seasons. So in season 2, we have Lucy's last birthday. It's one of my, I don't like that episode much. And let's say an episode in season 1, we'll call that Lucy Thinks Ricky's Trying to Murder Her. So if we compare those 2 episodes, I'd rather do that Lucy Thinks Ricky's Trying to Murder Her episode more than Lucy's birthday. So that moves up higher. And so we got first and second. We'll keep doing that with every episode. That's what I did. So go ahead and do that. There are a lot of them, so just keep that in mind. Your list may not agree with mine. That's the criteria I would like you to try it and see what we come up with. See if we come up with a similar list. Maybe do it before we get started, but I'm going to get right into it. Let's start with number 10, guys and gals. My 10th favorite episode is called The Mustache. Now, if some of you aren't really hardcore fans or maybe don't have the episodes within reach, many people won't know about this episode because it's not played in syndication that much. It's called The Mustache. It's really funny because Ricky decides to grow a mustache and Lucy hates it. So she asks Fred, hey, give me a whole mustache facial beard thing, and it's white. She looks kind of like Santa Claus. It's kind of funny, and I like it. They use one prop throughout the whole thing. It gets stuck to her face, and that kind of is the plot. It's very simple, but it's very funny, all the situations she gets in. Again, it is hilarious. It is funny. If you haven't watched it, you really should. Number 10. Alright, moving on to number 9. This episode is great because we have the Mertzes and the Ricardos against each other. This episode is called Breaking the Lease. Now, if you think about the beginning, they start out happy, they get into a big fight, and they reconcile again. I like that whole trajectory. I like that whole plot source, and there's so much funny stuff going throughout the episode as well. They start singing and dancing in the beginning. The Mertzes get upset as the Ricardos are playing music. They get in a big fight, and they try to one-up the other to see, who would crack first, and of course the Ricardos won. The Mertzes had to tear up the lease, meaning that, the Ricardos could leave, but they decided to stay, and they made up at the end. So I love this episode, one that I just love to sit back, relax, and just watch it. So I hope you like it as well. Now let me tell you, before I tell you number 8, to be sure in the comments, let me know what you think. What's your top 10 list? I'd love to see it down there. So my number 8 is The Girls Want to Go to the Nightclub. This is in fact the first official episode of I Love Lucy. And it is great because it's a very simple plot. The girls want to go to a nightclub for the Mertzes anniversary while the Ricardos want to go to the fights. And so they argue and they fight, the couples that is, well the boys versus the girls that is. And finally the girls get some disguises. They look horrible and kind of hillbilly. And it's so hilarious because just the dialogue and the song at the end that Ricky plays is just so great. And of course they make up. So it is such a great moment that I had to put it on this list. Now this episode is probably, I don't know if it's going to be on your list or not. I would think it's not one that people regularly jump into. Ricky wants a raise, or Ricky asks for a raise. This one co-stars Gail Gordon, which plays opposed to Lucy, or co-stars with Lucy in The Lucy Show. So it's fantastic to see him on this. And this is so hilarious. Ricky is basically begging for a raise at the club, and of course that gets him fired. So the Mertzes and Lucy go to the club and kind of buy out all the seats, and it's just hilarious to see the Mertzes and Lucy in disguises, especially Fred in drag. That is probably one of the funniest moments, but it just builds to it. It's just written so well, in my opinion. It's where we end up is so hilarious, and the conclusion is even more funny. It is such a great episode that, again, I had to put on this list because Fred and Drag, I mean, who cannot enjoy that? The episode Lucy's Schedule is a great one as well. I think, in my opinion, often overlooked. It also co-stars Gail Gordon, and this one is great because Lucy's always late, and they happen to go to Ricky's boss's house, Mr. Littlefield, or the Littlefield's home, and the most hilarious thing happens. Lucy is super hungry because she was late, so she bites into a wax apple. That whole scene is just so fantastic. It makes Ricky make a schedule for Lucy, and then they invite the Littlefields and the Merces over for dinner, and it's just great because it's the girls versus the guys, and the girls one up the boys, and everything ends great in the end. But it's just so funny. The building up to that final dinner scene, I think, is so hilarious, of the boys just freaking out over what's going on with dinner. It is a great moment. Halfway down the list, Lucy gets Ricky on the radio. I love to put this episode on, and the reason is I love to sit back and relax, and the whole cast is looking at us, kind of, they're looking out at us, and I like that. It's kind of a unique interaction when they're kind of listening to the radio, watching TV, and so forth. And then, of course, Ricky fakes that he knows the answers, he cheats, so Lucy gets him on the show thinking that he's super smart. Of course, he's not. He doesn't know the answer to any questions, but the ending is so great because the whole dialogue back and forth of the questions and the answers and the tricky answers. Of course, you see Freddie Fillmore in this episode. It is just great. Of course, Frank Nelson. And it's, in my opinion, it's just a simple episode, but the premise is so great, and they win the money at the end, so everyone wins. It is so, so great. Now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, guys and gals, the real episodes that really speak to us, the top 4. Lucy makes a TV commercial. Of course, to me, this is the quintessential episode. The Vitamita Vegemin? It's so hard for me to say. It's one of those tongue twisters for me. Vitamita Vegemin, I believe, close. And it's so great because you see her, of course, everyone knows this. Even people who don't even know about Lucy know about this, where she gets drunk off of the, the little cocktail, the Vitamita Vegemin, and it's such a great scene. She doesn't know she's getting drunk, and she's just carefree and careless and spits out all these lines, and she's such a great drunk. I think you see her acting chops there so well. It is number 4 on my list. We have 3 more to go, and let's get right to them. Some of you may be surprised to see my number 3. This episode is called The Freezer. Now, The Freezer, in my opinion, is great because we get in the action right in the beginning. The scene starts out, the Ricardos aren't doing well money-wise, so Lucy decides to spend more money and buy a freezer along with Ethel. And so it gets put in, and they buy so much meat that it could barely fit in that freezer. And of course, they try to hide it from the boys, and Lucy accidentally gets stuck in the freezer. In my opinion, it's one of the best makeup jobs on the show. The fact where Lucy had just icicles hanging from her face and crying and can't get out, and she's like a frozen popsicle. She actually freezes. Like, she becomes stiff. She can't move. I don't know. There's like a cartoony, childish feel that is just so hilarious to me. It's just funny throughout, and there's a part where they're carrying her out, and they say, watch out with her arm. You might snip it off because she's frozen. I think that's just some great dialogue. So I love this, and this is why this is number 3. So my number 2 choice on the list is from the episode The Ballet. Now, hopefully this is in your top 5. It's not, hey, we have a difference of opinion, but I think this should be in everyone's top 5 list. I mean, The Ballet, where Lucy, right from the beginning, we get the concept that she trying to get into Ricky's show by being a ballet dancer. Of course, she's horrible. It's ridiculous, but it's so much funny because she's with Mary Wicks, of course, Madame Lamont, and she is causing chaos over there with the ballet and trying to show off her chops even though she doesn't know what she's doing. And finally, she gets into the show, but before that, she does a little burlesque routine with a clown, and that is just so great because she gets a pie in her face. You can hear Desi laughing. There isn't a dull moment in this episode. It's like boom, 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 ends, you're done. And finally, the final act where they're at the club and Ricky starts to sing so slowly. It's great because you know what's coming and it just builds up the perfect moment. It's just so well written, and I love it. Even that song preempting Lucy's entrance, I think, builds so much more comedy, and it's just so brilliant in my opinion. And finally, guys and gals, some of you I think will be totally surprised at my number 1 choice. Let me know what your choices are in the comments, as I said. Ready? Are you ready? It is the Audition. Yes, guys and gals. Now, some of you may think, what? Rick, this is probably not a choice that I would pick, or why'd you pick this? Well, let me tell you, there is a reasoning behind this. Think of the pilot the episode that many people haven't seen. If you do go ahead and look at the pilot, pay attention to it, because this is pretty much the audition episode word for word, except for Jerry being replaced by Fred in the episode, just to have the continuity of the Mertzes in the actual show. But I think this is great, primarily because of the scene between Lucy and Desi. It is such a pivotal scene. I think it kind of sets the stage for the entire series. Even though it's not the first episode, it kind of recalls back to it. Think about this. If this episode wouldn't have been so popular, they would have never picked up the series, ever. This was the pilot. They essentially remade the pilot. They made it into an official episode. And if it wasn't that good, it wouldn't get chosen. And this is what put I Love Lucy on the map. It set the stage for Lucy wanted to be on the show. It set the stage for Lucy's comedy. She was standing toe and toe with her, of course, male husband in the 50s. I mean, you see that, and she kind of supersedes him in the sense of comedy. They're working together. But you think here, goodness, this is Lucille Ball. Like, she is fantastic. I'm going to watch the show. That's my opinion, guys and gals. I want to know what you think again in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It does help me out. We'll see you all next time, and don't forget, as I always remind you, you are so special. And sometimes I say this because I kind of need the advice for myself, so I say it to you guys and also try to take the advice. You are all so special. You're so unique. Don't forget that. I try to always have a positive message at the end of every video. Don't forget that there is only one person like you. Mr. Rogers used to say that, and I believe that wholeheartedly, that message. So keep that in your heart. Don't forget how special and unique you are. We'll see you all next time, guys and gals, and don't forget, be hopeful.